and the pizzeria just took off from that point. It kind of put me on the map a little bit, like, okay. So I didn't realize, that's when I really realized the power of marketing and media. I
Sure.
had no idea my light bulb went off and said, oh wow, I got to keep doing this.
In this video, I talk with Tony Palombino, who has a wonderful pizza story. Coming from immigrant parents, he starts in his home with one pizza oven and turned it into something amazing. He also talks about great adventures at Pizza Expo. Here's Tony's story. Albert Grande here. I'm talking to Tony Palombino, the owner of Boobozz Pizzeria. Is that right? Or it's Boobozz Pizzeria.
Yep.
Located in Florida, but you have many other locations.
Yes, yeah. So when I'm headquartered in Florida, but we have locations in Tennessee, Indiana, and Kentucky.
Okay, so let's get right to it, Tony. Tell me your pizza story. How did you get involved? And tell me a little bit about your family.
Yeah. So my parents came over from Italy with my sister, born in Naples, Napoli. Came over in '67. They landed in Lexington, Kentucky through an aunt who married a gentleman who was based in the military in Italy and in the Navy, and he was from Lexington. And so that's how everyone followed. So the whole family came over, and they opened up a restaurant close to Lexington in a small little town called Harrodsburg, Kentucky. I was actually born in '68. Close to Harrodsburg in a little town called Danville. And they had a little Italian restaurant together. The whole family worked this little Italian restaurant. And then my dad decided to move to Lexington, Kentucky and open up an Italian restaurant there with my grandmother and my mom. And so we had a restaurant there for a while. And then that took us to Orlando, Florida in the '70s. My father opened up a pizzeria there in downtown Orlando with my grandmother in tow and the family, and we were there for a couple years, I guess, and we ended up in Louisville, Kentucky. We had a lot of relatives that lived in Louisville, Kentucky, so my dad moved us up there, and he had many restaurants there, and kind of all over around Kentucky and northern Kentucky, and so I kind of cut my teeth in the restaurant business that way. Obviously, with mostly Italian restaurants.
Right.
He did dabble in some other various cuisines, depending on where he was, but mainly it was Italian. And then as I got older, we opened up some more Italian restaurants and another pizzeria. So in 1987 was really kind of the breakthrough for me. I just graduated high school. And my father met a gentleman from Bari, Italy, and they had talked about opening up an Italian pizzeria using a wood-burning pizza oven, which in 1987 was very rare for Louisville, Kentucky. No one ever heard of it.
I would add it was very rare for anywhere to have a wood-fired.
It was very rare. The only ovens at the time were made by Renato. I don't know if you ever met Renato. He was a great guy. He was kind of the original importer of wood ovens, and he was based out of Dallas, Texas. So we opened up a little pizzeria in Louisville, Kentucky, with the first wood-fired pizza oven, only wood, no gas boost, and they chose me to go do training in Dallas with Renato. So I trained in Dallas there at a restaurant called Lombardi's in Dallas, Texas, and I was trained on the wood burning pizza oven. So brought that knowledge back of utilizing the oven. We opened up the pizzeria there. Of course, it was interesting getting that open because the local health inspectors had never seen an oven like this. So
wow.
we almost had to get approved. They're like, "What is this?" And they were telling us we had to cook the pizzas on screens. I'm like, no, you can't cook it on a screen. Right. You have to cook it on a. So anyway, we had rave reviews, and it took off. And from there, we opened up another wood-fired pizza oven in downtown Louisville in the late '80s, and I followed that path. that led me to, as I got older, I kind of wanted to, when you turn 20, you want to kind of do maybe some different things, explore, do an adventure. My adventure led me to Hawaii.
Yeah.
In my mind, I've always wanted to. I love the tropics on TV and the tiki drinks and the umbrella and all that stuff, the beach and the ocean. So here I was in my 20s, thinking that I was going to follow this amazing dream of hanging out on the beach in Hawaii. And I mean, I ended up going to Hawaii for sure in '91, and had a great time there. I did not do the restaurant business there. I ended up doing finance. I got a job at Ford Motor Credit Company, but I never done a job like that in customer service and making phone calls. So they hired me, but within 2 weeks they pulled me into the office and they're like, "Look, obviously you never done anything like this." I'm like, "No, no, I don't." They said, "Look, we're going to put you in a different department." And I said, "Okay, well, whatever. I need to make money. It's fine." So they stuck me in a department which was the repo department. So I I
You
got
became
trained by a guy named Tony Stun, S-O-N, and he trained me. I had to go find cars and repo cars, even though I didn't have a tow truck. I had to go and basically collect money or take the cars.
right.
So I had a great adventure. I traveled all the islands and an amazing time in Hawaii. Made some great friends, and that was a fun job. And then did that for a couple years, and I ended up coming back to Kentucky to pursue the restaurant industry again. And my at that time my family had a second pizzeria with the wood fired pizza oven in downtown Louisville, and so did that. And then that led me to go out on my own. And
Okay.
I got a phone call from a gentleman who he had was very high up in Kentucky Fried Chicken as vice president of franchising. He used to come to our pizzeria, and he had called me up and said, "I want to open up a very similar restaurant to your parents with the wood fired pizza oven in Lee Summit, Missouri, really outside of Kansas City." And he said, I want you to come out and help me." And I said, "Okay, yeah, that sounds like fun." I was getting bored of the banking industry anyway.
Yep.
And so I ended up in Lee Summit, Missouri. We opened up this first pizzeria, wood fired pizza oven, built it myself and the whole 9 yards. Not by choice, but we had to. I didn't have a lot of money. But for $180,000, we got this pizzeria opened up, a little nice 80 seater wood fired pizza oven, and opened up very successful. Obviously, that was also unique at the time. We had I started using the ovens from oh gosh, I can't remember. They're out of Washington, the big pizza oven company. You probably know the name. Uh, I can't remember
Um,
the name.
no, yeah.
Yeah, they're out, anyway. We were like the sixth company to ever use Woodstone. Woodstone.
Woodstone. Yes.
Yeah, so we were the sixth company to ever use their ovens. Six of them they ever sold was to us. And so wood fired pizza oven. And one day, the next steps for me were fanfare, very successful. And that's when I subscribed to Pizza Today magazine. And this is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
So the very first magazine that I get was a gentleman who had won Pizza Festiva, which it was called at the time, and he's holding his little trophy, and he won this competition. And I'm a very competitive person. I'm like, oh, I would love to. This is a goal of mine. I would love to win this competition. So at the time back then, you would have to submit recipes, and they would choose your recipes, and then they would invite you to. Do you remember how Pizza Festiva used to go?
No,
Okay,
no.
it was a different format. Pizza Festiva was you submit your recipes by fax, by the way, by fax. And if they choose your recipe, they would pick five category winners: winged and dessert and vegetarian, and they invite you to Pizza Expo in Vegas to compete uh, with the five of you in
Right.
front of a crowd. You have to compete, and it was a 2 day competition. And then you had judges, and they would pick the winner. So anyway, I submitted my recipe to Pizza Today magazine. Was called the Polotate, which is uh, chicken and roasted potatoes based on the recipe my mother made, rosemary chicken and potatoes, and with garlic olive oil. Submitted the recipe, and I got a phone call that I was one of the finalists, and they were going to invite me to Vegas.
Okay.
Uh, so anyhow, ended up I went to Vegas, competed.
And I'm
Yeah,
I'm sorry. What year
yeah,
was this?
95,
Okay.
95. So I go there and compete, and they always announce the winner on the back then they would announce the winner at the breakfast
Right.
in the morning. And so the third day we ended up going there, and they said I won the competition. So I won the Pizza Festiva, the
All
champion.
right.
So I
Yep.
got my little trophy, my $1,000 check, which I spent it in Vegas that same night. It's a little celebration too much.
Sure.
And went back to Kansas City, not thinking anything of it. Had my trophy, very exciting, great. Back to work. Then what I didn't know is part of the package of winning was that Pizza Today sent out a press release to your local, the local media. I didn't know this, but I got a phone call from the TV station. Said, "Hey, we heard that you won this pizza competition. We want to invite you on TV." This was I've been on TV before in limited capacity in back in Louisville, but this was pretty big deal to come on Kansas City television, and so I went on to go on TV, and that led to three more television stations, radio shows. It was a big deal. Next thing you know, lines out the door, and the pizzeria just took off from that point and kind of put me on the map a little bit. Like okay, so I didn't realize that's when I really realized the power of marketing and media. I
Sure.
had no idea it was my light bulb went off and said, "Oh wow, I got to keep doing this." So the next several years after that, I didn't compete in 96, 97. I competed, got to the top three, 98, top three. And then there was many years that went by. I did not compete again until 2005. 2005, I competed with the chicken fajita pizza and same format, Pizza Festiva, and I won again. So I was technically the first two-time winner, based on what Steve Coombs said, the
Sure.
first two-time winner. So that really put me on the map even more, and that led me to come back to Louisville, and I opened up Boomba. It was originally called Tony Boombozz's Pizza, and opened up Boombozz's Pizza in August of '98. And I'm sorry, October of '98, and started out little 14 seats, one restroom, and it was a garage that I converted that was attached to my parents' home, and that's where I opened up my first
Okay. You
pizzeria.
converted a garage into a restaurant.
Yes, yeah,
Wow. Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
14 seats, and it honestly, I had all the awards, and I had okay, splattered everywhere, award-winning pizza, blah blah blah. But the first month was rough, very rough, until the newspaper, local newspaper, Louisville paper, did a story on best pizzas in Louisville. And back then, of course, every Saturday was your reviews would come out in the paper. Back in the
Sure.
day, if you remember, that's how it worked. It was a newspaper, and we made the cover of the magazine, the cover of the newspaper that Saturday morning as best pizza in Louisville. And again, that kind of jump started that operation and that concept. And Boomboss started developing its following.
Right.
And so that's how it started with Boomboss, in 1988, and it grew from one, second location and third location and franchising, and that's how we ended up where we are today.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And you're located in Florida. That's where your
Yeah, our
headquarters
headquarters.
are.
Yeah, we have a second headquarters here in Pompano Beach, Florida. But all our locations are located up in Kentucky, Tennessee, and in Indiana.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
And you've continued to go to Pizza Expo, and Pizza
yeah.
Expo has, from those early days, has kind of blown up.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And I'm sure, you know, I can think of my early days of going to Pizza Expo. There were a few thousand people there. I mean, it wasn't small, but
yeah,
now we're talking 10 or 11,000.
yeah. It's
It's
amazing.
an incredible,
It's
and
amazing.
even to walk across the floor will
Yeah,
take you a long, long time.
yeah. When they changed the format, to the international pizza competition, and really, it's when they other people, when the Italians started coming over. That didn't happen before. And when really we started seeing a difference around 2007 when I went to Naples for the World Pizza Cup with Jim and Yanni and our little team. We went there, and that's when the Jim and Yanni won his competition, and
Right.
that kind of, and we were with Ernesto Cacciali, who was a legend, and then Ernesto comes gets invited to Pizza Expo, and Ernesto and I were the judges of the Neapolitan division. That was the first year, was 2007. Him and I were the judges for the Neapolitan competition. And that kind of put the Italians started coming, and people from around the world obviously were coming. The Japanese, and it became this really world expo for pizza. And that's how it evolved over the years, and that's what was fascinating to see. But it really started with making those moves, and of course, the whole team at Pizza Expo that made those things happen. Also,
Yeah.
Pete, Pete was an integral part of making that
Pete
happen.
was Pete
You know,
LaChapelle. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ironically, what I didn't know was the founders of Pizza Today magazine were from right across the river from Louisville in New
They
Albany, New York.
were.
I
Yes.
had no idea. I didn't know that Pizza Day was in my backyard when I won the competition. I was stunned. And so it was just ironic that they were right across the river from me. And I got to know them very well. They were great people that really put Pizza Day and Pizza Excellent. And then Pete came in, and Pete just took it to another level.
Right. 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 To where it is now, which is
Yeah,
really extraordinary.
yeah,
So you've seen so many changes over the years with Pizza Expo, really from the days that it was incubating to what it is now, and
yeah,
it's just phenomenal.
yeah.
I
It's
just have
amazing.
to say,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So let's get into the pizza a little bit. Can you give us some pizza tips of what makes a great pizza?
Yeah. So there's wow, so many things go into it. You really love what you have to you have to love what you're doing. You know, when people talk about ingredients have evolved, since my early days. There was no, grande cheese was, something that we had used in our family for a long time, using the fresh mozzarella, bringing those things to, um, and keeping things very true to what you're doing. I had to modify over the years. I went from wood fired pizza ovens to conveyor belt type ovens because I really Boomboz started out as a delivery concept, delivery and carry out, what we call
Right.
Delco units, and that's how Boomboz started. I actually got away from wood fired pizza oven to just for convenience sake and speed and I got to remember back in the day, wood fired pizza ovens, a true Neapolitan pizza was not really accepted in the United States because they thought it was an undercooked wet pizza, which is
Yes.
what a Neapolitan pizza is. So
Yes.
I
Yeah.
really, even in my wood fired pizza ovens, I had to modify the temperature, lower the temperature, cook them a little longer. So it was almost more of a California style pizza. Really, it's really focusing on the ingredients, making sure those things are perfected, the dough. We all talk about that. We all say, well, that's what makes it great. But also it's also about the people. It's also about who surround yourself with in your organization. They all have to believe in the same thing. From the top down, the leaders of that organization. At the time when I opened up my restaurant in Louisville, it was just me, a woman from Ecuador named Magda, and a guy named Gary who worked the cash register. And it was just the three of us in this little pizzeria. And but we all spoke the same language. It lived and breathed every single day. It's not the pizza itself; it's all those components that make it special, and it's the consistency, the obsession. Every person that came to that door, to me, I had to make sure that the pizza was always the same and exceptional,
Yes.
and differentiate myself from the competition. Even though I didn't necessarily have much competition with that style of pizza, I call myself a gourmet pizza product. It was very unique. No one had done roasted potatoes and chicken and pesto sauces and all these unique things that I was putting on pizza. I looked at pizza really as a carrier, whether it's a tortilla, pizza dough, bread. It's what was going on top, and that's kind of my vision for that, to kind of separate myself from the competition. So I was constantly, still do it today, constantly trying to separate yourself from the competition and be different. And so how we were different in '98 is a little different from how we differentiate today. So
Sure.
because Food Network added, really changed the palette of America. So when Food Network came onto the scene, people got more educated on unique things. So we constantly had to stay ahead of that. And of course, now, it's, I mean, just seeing the whole Neapolitan pizzeria has come full circle from 1987, from doing in Louisville to where it is today, and how it's Neapolitan pizza is accepted. So the styles and the changes, but it does go back to those original components that you have to have all together, all those things to really make the pizza special. The pizza cannot just stand on its own. It's the experience, and everyone had the same exact vision that they want to put a really exceptional, superior product. Very tough to do on a daily basis, consistent. I will never forget this. And pizza at Pizza Expo one year, they had the owners of one of the famous pizzerias in New York, and it escapes my mind right now. And he was doing a seminar, and at the end, it was a Q&A, and a guy raised his hand. He said, every time I go there, it's the same every single time. And how do you do it? How is it the same every single time? And he goes, I'll tell you how. He goes, Mario. And this old guy comes around from the back of the curtain area. He goes, this is Mario. He's been with me for 25 years. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I have to have a lot of Marios, to really be successful. But it was all the systems, putting the systems in place and consistency. Those were all learning curves from day one for me until it is today, having a consistent product. You hear these buzzwords all the while. Everybody talks about the same buzz, consistency, this, but those are really true things that make the pizza special. It's all those things that make it special, not just the dough and the sauce and everything else. You have to focus on those things, but it's everything together that really makes it special.
Yeah, agreed. And to me, the most amazing thing is we're talking flour, water, salt, and yeast,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
blank palette. And yet, I mean, some people elevate that to extraordinary levels. And it sounds like that's kind of what you're doing. I mean,
yeah.
let's face it, we've had some so-so pizza and not so good pizza.
Sure.
And then other times it's a home run.
Yeah.
And I think what you're saying true, consistency is really the key for it. What are some of your signature pizzas that you have at Boobozz
I would have to
Pizzeria?
say, yeah, right now, I created many years ago, a condiment called green chili jam. And it's with the hatch green chilies and jalapenos and sugar and things like that. It's kind of a salty, sweet, spicy thing. Anyway, I introduced that in one of my other restaurant concepts. I have a bourbon honky tonk concept with fried chicken and whatnot and tacos. But I created this condiment that I ended up putting on one of the pizzas. So right now, one of my favorite pizzas is the green chili chicken pizza,
Ooh,
and it has roasted chicken, green chili jam, pepperdew peppers, mozzarella, Asiago cheese, and of course the green chili jam drizzled on top, and also has feta cheese on top. That's
wow,
and cilantro.
wow.
Really, really good pizza. Of course, the ones that kind of put us on the map, the Polotate, which won in '95, in 2005. We had the fire roasted chicken pizza. We have a brisket pizza. But we have some. One of my favorites is named after my mother. Has sausage and onions and pepper and pomodoro sauce. So there's a lot of different variations that we do. That a lot of them are my favorites. Boomboss has evolved over the years from a carryout delivery concept to what it is today. It's a full service, restaurant, so the bar and expanded menu. Not too much. I mean, still the core is pizza, of course, but we have great appetizers and great things. But I would have to say the green chili chicken pizza. Matter of fact, my son Enzo competed with it a few years back, and he won his division
Wow.
with it.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's cool to see, and that's probably one of my favorites.
Wow. Wow. Hey,
Matter of fact, we'll be in Vegas with our first booth selling it. We're
Oh, no
offering.
kidding.
We're gonna be.
You're
Yeah, it's called green chili jam.
okay. Green chili jam is going to make its world debut.
World of You in Vegas. Yeah.
Are
Yep.
you selling it now?
We are selling it online. Jars. We're gonna have squeeze bottles. We actually sell it to a lot of restaurants already. It became kind of a cult following over the past 10 years, and yeah, we're selling online, and we're gonna introduce it to the pizza world in this next expo.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. We
Yeah.
can't wait.
Yeah.
So, Tony, what advice would you have? You know, a lot of people ask me this. What advice would you have for someone wanting to get into the pizza business? I mean, your path was incredible. I mean, it came from your family, and you
Yeah.
kind of your pizza's certainly an extension of that. But
Yeah.
what advice would you have for someone that wants to get into the pizza business?
Okay. It's real simple. Um, I I probably have talked more people out of the business than in, and the ones that decided to get in it, I asked them this question. I say, if you had $50,000 right now, which you hopefully you have to get in the business, and I tell you to go to the closest casino and to take that $50,000 and bet it on black or red at the roulette table, are you willing to take that chance? And if they say yes, they'll be okay in the pizza business. If they say no, they do not belong in any business
Right,
that involves
right,
restaurants. That's my
right.
advice. That's why I ask everybody that question, because that's the sacrifices you're going to make, and that's where it really starts, because you can have the passion, you can have the drive that can get you a lot of places, and it did me. But in reality, when I look back on my path, um, some people are just built different. They have different personalities, different. They brought up different. I was brought up in an entrepreneurial family, so automatically I'm going to work for myself. I had a very difficult time working for other people. Some people are not brought up in that environment, so they maybe go into a restaurant and they go, I want to get in the pizza business, or they eat a great pizza and I can do this. But they have to ask themselves that question, because that risk is the ultimate risk. And trust me, it has not. It's never an easy path, and you're going to have the ups and downs, and it's going to make you, it's going to break you, as the old saying goes. But at the end of the day, that's the question. That's my advice. I give that advice
Okay,
all the time.
okay. That's great advice. That's
Yeah,
great advice.
yeah,
Yeah. It really is about putting yourself out there and being willing to take that big leap of faith.
yeah,
And I mean, again, a lot of people think, no, it's easy. Margins are just incredible. I'm just gonna, throw some stuff together and no, it's
yeah,
way, way more than that.
yeah.
It's way,
It
and
is.
you're
It's way more than 50,000. I use that 50,000 as, because if you don't have 50, it's a lot more than 50,000. But
right. Maybe 20
if you're
years
not
ago,
willing to lose
50,000.
50, they're not willing to lose 500,000.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's great.
yeah.
And being part of the pizza business, going to Pizza Expo, you've made some incredible connections over the years with some very memorable, world famous pizza makers.
Yes.
Any standouts that you?
Yeah, well, I would have to say we talked about our friend who, California Pizza Kitchen, and
Ed Ledoux.
Ed Ledoux.
Ed
Yes,
Ledoux.
I would have to say thank you for that. I apologize, I couldn't remember. Um, Ed, meeting Ed, we did a seminar together. We got invited by Steve Coombs to do a Q&A thing in Columbus, when it used to be the Columbus Pizza Show, and I got to meet Ed. Ed was on the panel, and we had a wonderful evening uh, at dinner that night. And honestly, I didn't know who Ed was.
Right.
And he started talking about his journey and his wow, right? And I love that guy. We became fast friends, immediate friends. And then we traveled some shows together, and I'd see him, and it was just great fun. But I would have to say Ed was a treat to meet and get to know. Ernesto Cacciali, you know, Naples, Italy. I mean, that connection, that time with him, judging pizzas, hanging out with him, amazing. Tony Gemignani, us connecting at the Pizza Cup in Naples, going on the team together. That's been fascinating. We experienced some amazing times together at that event. Memories that we'll never forget. Oh, with that, Chris Bianco. I got to meet Chris at through Steve Coombs, I happened to be in Phoenix, Arizona, and he said, "Why don't you go see Chris?" And I got to spend an amazing evening with him after I mean, that was just the ultimate. He really put that whole you know craftsmanship on. Wow, he was
Yes.
doing everything. It was the dream pizzeria for a lot of us. Jim and Yanni and I talk about this all the time, and myself, I left there with this just inspiration that I don't think I could get inspired as much as that, or being in the business, but that guy inspired me. And speaking with him and him taking the time out for 2 hours after
Yes.
he had flour all
Incredible.
over him
No,
and
no.
making the pizzas, that was amazing. So I would have to say I've crossed paths with some great people and became very good friends with them. All the old school Neapolitan guys, Umberto, who just passed away.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
crossed
No.
paths all over the world, and that's what's so great about this pizza community. I mean, we are a rare breed. Restaurateurs, and you got pizzaiolas.
Yeah.
That
No.
that that connection. It's a love fest. It's the friendliest competition I believe out there. We want the other person to succeed. At least I do. I
Sure.
love
No.
seeing. I
No.
love even Leo, like Leo Spazzieri. I remember Leo. When he was on the World Pizza Champs, he came on, and I remember we were taking this group picture, and Leo was just a young guy, man. He was buttoning his chef coat up, and I remember that. I'm buttoning his chef coat up, and now to see him where he is today, amazing. And
No.
these are the
No.
great stories and the connections that are developed, and it's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah. No. No. It is. I really there is a real brotherhood of pizza. Let's face it.
Yeah,
And the characters, the personalities, uh, the compassion and passion that these
yeah,
guys have it's just
yeah.
amazing.
It
And I
is.
think you hit the nail on the head. It's like no other industry. There is no
Yeah.
other industry where people really want you to succeed. It's not like
Yes.
you're in competition, you're cutthroat.
Yes.
No. No.
Right.
I mean it's a different game, and I think that says a lot about it. Hey,
Yes.
Tony, we're going to have to continue this another time.
Sure.
We're just kind of scratching the surface, and you're making me uh, boil up with emotion mentioning some of those personalities and some of those people that you know. But
Yes.
tell me a little bit how people can contact you and find Boobozz Pizza. Um, we know that you're in a lot of different places.
Yeah, yeah. So our website is www.boombozz, B-O-M-B-O-Z-Z, boombozz.com. We start out in Louisville, Kentucky, so we have locations in Louisville, various cities in Kentucky. We have Indiana. We have Nashville, Tennessee. We have great franchisee down there. We have a great franchisee in other areas too. So that's where they can find us. And yeah, that's you come and join us for some great pie.
I can't wait. I'll tell you. Visiting your website made me want to hop through the screen and go right over there and have a pizza and a beer.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Tony, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Thanks, Albert. I appreciate it too.